Alright, welcome to the part 2 video of parsing Surah 99, Surah Al-Zilzal or Al-Zilzala. So we'll do the last 4 verses. Last week we did the first 4 until yawmaizin tuhaddith akhbaraha. Alright, so on the screen now is the first 4 verses. Okay, so we will just recap on the first 4 verses for the verbal structures that we see, all the nominal structures. Okay, so let's begin with the first one, which is zulzilatil ardu, which is the verb. So you have the verb here and the subject and the object, right? So this verbal structure has a function, okay, and the function of this verbal structure, as I explained last week, you have an adverb here, right? So whenever you have an adverb, what comes after it would be a possessive, okay, a noun which is possessive, but here you find a verb, okay. Therefore you take the whole verbal structure, the VSO here, as a verbal structure. Okay, it drags the verbal structure and the verbal structure becomes a possessive, just like that. Okay, then we go to the next one. Next verbal structure is the akhrajatil ardu athqalaha, the verb, subject and object. Okay, that is the verbal structure. Okay, so you have a conjunction, wow here, conjunction. Therefore what comes, the verbal structure that comes after it is a follower of the previous verbal structure. So you put an F here, follower. The same thing here, you see another wow conjunction here, and then a verbal structure which is a verb and subject of verb. Therefore this follows the previous verbal structure, which is this one. So it's another follower structure. And then, as we mentioned last week, this is a nominal structure. What is with it? What is the meta? It's basically the object of verb. Okay, the object of verb for the verb qaala. Okay, for the verb qaala. Therefore qaala lifts the object of verb, the structure as the object of verb. All right, and the final verbal structure in verse number 4. In verse number 4, as we mentioned last week, you have either, right? So you have either, and then you have what comes after either is the possessive. We have identified that, which is what we call the conditional verb. The conditional verb comes right after either, and then you have the response verb that comes after the conditional verb. Sometimes it doesn't come directly after the conditional verb, because you still have a conjunction here that goes back to this verb, and then another conjunction that goes back to this verb, and then the response verb would be here, tuhaddithu akhbaraha. So the earth declares its news when it is shaken. Now, and then we said that this verbal structure is the response verb. So we say this verbal structure is linked, either is linked. Okay, I'll just put an arrow there. It's linked to the verbal structure. Therefore we have completed the sort of functions for the structures, the verbal structures, and one nominal structure is in verse number 3. And now we go to verse number 4 to 8. Okay, so this is verse number 5, which is bi-anna rabbaka awha laha. This is the second recording I'm doing, because I just noticed that when I do 4 verses in one screen, it looks so crammed. So I'm recording again to make just one verse a screen. Alright, so let's do this. Okay, so remember we did the core identification for the verse. Okay, so as you can see, you have B and then you have anna, right? Anna, whenever we see anna, inna, an, no, inna and anna. Usually it's we just identify it as, you know, as the pre-core, and the b is there, so we'll just let it be like that. And then you have a laha, which is a preposition and the object of preposition, so let's just identify that as the post. And what you are left with is rabbaka awha, your Lord revealed. Nominal structure, right? Very straightforward. Your Lord revealed. So let's do this, okay? So we go from the front. You have be here, particle of preposition, okay? Sorry, particle of preposition, and anna would be emphasis, right? So emphasis and a lifter, like inna also, it lifts whatever that is after it, and whatever that is after it, forever, no exception, it will be the subject of nominal, okay? So if you can memorize that, you see anna, and again anna, inna, and so on, whatever that comes after it is the subject of nominal. And then okay, let me just shade that into, you know, red as the core. Okay, so now let's identify. So rabba plus ka, noun plus pronoun, as usual, would be a possessive, okay? A possessive. Now awha means revealed, with the f4 form, okay, which is referring to he. Therefore we put it as a verb. Now if that is the subject of verb, it will become awha or rabbuka, okay? But because rabba has come in front and as the subject of verb, you can't say that rabba is the subject of verb for awha, although meaning wise it is, but like I said many times, the subject of verb always comes after the verb, and you can't see any standard noun after the verb. Therefore we imply he here, so which is the subject of verb. And then the la would be preposition, and then ha would be object of preposition, okay? So now let's link everything, okay? Let's link the easier ones first. So preposition would drag the object of preposition, okay? So there is a drag element here, and then the verb would push the subject of verb, okay? So there's a push here. Okay, and then the possessive, of course, is dragged by the noun before it, and then anna, okay? Anna like inna would be lifting the whatever that comes after it, which is the subject of verb, subject of nominal, and anna would be pushing the predicate of nominal if it's a noun. But now the predicate of nominal is missing, right? So because it's in the form of a verbal structure, therefore it pushes the verbal structure. So we say that the verbal structure is in the push position as the subject of nominal or subject of anna, sorry, predicate of anna or predicate of nominal. So once you do that, the arrows are there, okay? So the arrow for the preposition, say the la is a preposition, is linked to the verb before it, therefore you just link to the verb before it, which is awha. And then what is not linked here is, okay, you have a preposition. Preposition has to be dragging an object of preposition, but you don't have a noun right after be, right? Because right after be is anna. So what you do is you take the structure that comes after be, and that structure is the what we call here, because you have a subject of nominal, and this one is the vs here is the predicate of nominal, right? So subject of nominal plus predicate of nominal is a nominal structure. Therefore this preposition pushes the nominal structure dragged to the nominal structure, therefore the nominal structure is in the dragged position. Now I'm going to talk more about this in Zoom when we talk about the an-naas structure that comes before a preposition. So this will be more be clearer when we talk more about it in Zoom, and also I'll talk about an qabla an, which is similar to this bi anna. So the an-naas structure and an structure, we're going to talk about it in Zoom. Also because one of you asked about qabla that is succeeded by an. How do we go about how do we look at it? Okay, so more on that in Zoom. So let's go to the next verse number 6. Okay, verse number 6. يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم. Okay, so let's identify the core. The core will be the verb, right? So this is the first verb with the subject or nominal right after it, subject of verb, sorry, right after it, and then you have a noun with a fatha, right? Ashtaatan. Okay, so let's go to that later on. And then you see yawmaizin. Yawmaizin is an adverb, right? An adverb. Remember, adverbs and prepositions, they are all in the post. Okay, so we'll just color them green, even though it's at the beginning, but it's actually at the end in terms of grammatical structure. Okay, so I just dropped my earphone. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so verb here, you would have verb as a verb also. Okay, sorry, let me change the ink here. Okay, so you have a verb here and then the subject of verb. That's quite straightforward. The people proceed. So on that day, the people proceed. So you have a push here, and then you have Ashtaatan. Okay, now Ashtaatan is a noun. Okay, and it's lifted. Okay, as you can see here. Now I say 50% of the time you see that, and then you say that it's object of verb, but in this case it doesn't really look like an object of verb. Once you translate it, it becomes like the people proceed separately. Okay, so Ashtaatan is the plural of shattun. So you have shattun, and ashtaatun will be the plural, and then it has a fatha, fatha tanween, and then the meaning would be shattun means scattered or divided. So like a divided group, like a scattered group. So Ashtaatan would be like scattered groups of people, divided groups of people. So you can sort of see it as object of verb, right? But in this case it's more like, because you have li, right, separately. So the people proceeded separately, divided into classes, but separately. So in the state of separateness. So that li, whenever you see li, it's more about state. Okay. So we identify the function of Ashtaatan as state. Okay. Okay. In terms of the arrow, or what they usually do is, the verb. It's also describing the people, so you can sort of, the arrow can sort of go back to the people, but traditionally, they say that the arrow would sort of go from the verb to the state instead. Yeah, so it's, yeah, so it's like VSO also, right? So it's like Ashtaatan is It's like it's like as if it's the object of verb in this case. Okay, so we are done with yasduru an-naasu Ashtaatan. Okay, so next will be yurau amalahum. Okay, this is another structure. Okay, another structure. Now I'm going to talk more about state, okay, to fill in the gaps for this week's Zoom. So before this, well, I said a lot of so's today. So oh, that's another one. Okay, so before this before this I said I'm going to talk about something, and then I'm going to talk also about this structure, which we are going to talk about in a while. Li, okay, so you see here li, this li, okay, remember li is usually a preposition like lillahi. So but then when you see what comes after preposition is this verb that begins with ya. Okay, when you see a ya, most likely it's a verb, present tense. Now whenever li comes before a verb, we call it a rational particle, harf ta'lil. Okay, a rational particle, which means so that. Okay, so particle of reason. Okay, particle of reason. So particle of reason. Now what a particle of reason does is that it kills the verb right after it, but you don't see the kill sign here, because this verb is a weaky. Okay, this verb is a weaky. Now I'm going to talk more about this structure in Zoom. Okay, but here I'm going to just identify the functions only. So you have the yura. Yura means they are shown. They are shown. Remember, you have are here, which means it's a passive. Ua, yura. So remember, past tense passive is ui, ui, and present tense passive is ua. So you see ua here. So instead of they show or they showed, it becomes they are shown. The they here is in the wow here, they. Now if this is passive, therefore the verb, the subject that comes after it is what we call the deputy subject of verb. See that? So this sort of push, the verb pushes it. Okay, and then you have a'malahum, noun plus pronoun as usual. The second one will be possessive, and then we just have to find this. Now what is the sign for a'mala here? Fatha, right? Fatha. Remember, most of the time when you have a fatha, it is what? It is object of verb. It is object of verb. So if you read like they are shown their deeds, okay, which means the deeds are shown, therefore it's object of verb. It's object of verb. Now how can there be verb and then deputy subject of verb and then there is OoV? Okay, I'll talk more about that in Zoom also. Okay, so this is an extended version of the passive structure. Okay, so quite a number of topics that we are going to talk about to fill in the gaps for this week's Zoom session. Okay, so I can't speak more on this because it will take like maybe an hour, more than an hour. So we are done with verse number 6 except for the arrows. Okay, so the li here, yurau, so verb would and then would lift the object of verb here, and then the noun, the possessive, is dragged by the noun before it. Okay, and then the li here, the li is the particle of reason, would kill the verb after it. But how does it kill it? It's not really clear here. So I'm going to explain that in Zoom. And then what is left here? Li yurau. Okay, now li yurau, although it's a particle of reason, it's still a particle, right? So it's like the preposition, so you have to link it because there's a gap here that that needs to be filled. So therefore you link it to the previous verb, okay, which is yasduru. So the people proceed so that they are shown their deeds. Okay, with that we have completed verse number 6, and let's go to number 7. Oh wait, one more. There's yawmaizin. Yawmaizin is not linked, right? It's not linked. So we say that actually this is a post, right? If this is a post, therefore it goes after it, right? So we say that it's linked. So if yasduru nasu yawmaizin, as in the link is to yasduru, the people proceed on that day. Okay, so that's the link, and then we go to the next one. Okay, so now we are doing number 7. So number 7 is similar to 8. Okay, it's just the word khayran is changed to sharran for number 8. So let's go. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره. فمن يعمل. So fa here is a resumption particle. Okay, so we'll just write here as resumption. Okay, alright, so before moving on, I would like to clarify that we will not identify the core here, because this core is a special core which I shall explain more in Zoom. Okay, so we'll just take the functions for now. So you have man here, man, which means whoever. It is a conditional pronoun, which means whoever. Okay, and it's a noun, right? It's a noun at the beginning of a sentence, so most likely it is a subject of nominal. Then you have ya'mal. Now this conditional pronoun kills the verb right after it. So it's conditional, right? A conditional kills the verb right after it. Now some conditionals kill, some conditionals do not. More on that in Zoom. Man kills, and therefore this verb is killed, therefore you have a sukun at the end. Okay, and then every verb has a subject of verb. Here it is he. Okay, so you have that. So whoever does, or whoever he does, so you don't really translate it he. So whoever does a weight of one single end. So literally dharra means end, or dharra can also mean atom. So you have a verb, right? Subject of verb, and then you have a fatha there in mithqaala, therefore you just put it as the object of verb. Mithqaala dharratin, a weight of a single end. Can you see the -2 plus 1 there? -2 plus 1. So therefore it is a possessive, right? So therefore the arrow goes there, and you have a drag thing there. The verb pushes this, and the verb lifts the object of verb. Alright, and the subject and the man here is conditional. It kills the verb here, therefore you have it like that, and the particle of resumption is a watcher, and you have all the arrows being employed there. Okay, mithqaala dharratin khayran. So khayran, now you have the object of verb here in mithqaala, and then you have another one, khayran. Is this the second object of verb? Let's translate and see. So whoever does a weight of a single, whoever commits a deed, whoever performs a deed of even a single atom, khayran. Okay, khayran here you can translate it as of goodness or so on. Just now, remember we did what Ashtaatan. So the Ashtaatan, the fatha means li, right? Separate li in divisions, in groups, separately. So khayran, no, this fatha, this fathatain, these two fathas can also mean something else. Just now, Ashtaatan means in the state of. See, this khayran means in terms of. In terms of. So whenever you have in terms of, it's called specifier, or in Arabic we call it tamyiz. Okay, so you can translate it literally as whoever does an atom of weight in terms of goodness. Okay, in terms of goodness, not in the state of goodness, right? And in fact, you can also say it's object of verb, but it's more of a specifier. It answers the question of in terms of what. Okay, so whoever does the weight of even a single a deed that is the weight of a single atom, in terms of what? In terms of goodness. Yarahu, he would see it. Okay, so whatever you do, whatever small thing you do in this world, you would see it in the hereafter. That's one meaning of how you can translate this verse. Okay, so yara would be a verb, and who is seeing it? The he, which is not apparent here. So you have the subject of verb, therefore the V pushes the subject of verb, and then the who, it is being seen, therefore is the object of verb. So that's quite straightforward. VSO. Okay, so the arrow for khayran would go back to verb like Ashtaatan. It goes also back to the verb. Okay, all right. So now in terms of conditional, okay, conditional, let's change to red. Remember, either you would have a conditional verb and then a response verb. Same with man. Okay, so when you have man, you have a conditional structure, and that conditional structure would have a conditional verb, in this case ya'mal, and then you find the second verb that comes after it would be yara. So this is the response verb. Okay, and therefore if you want to put an arrow, there's a gap here, right? So you need to put an arrow. This one would go back to ya'mal. Okay, so that's the arrow for the condition and response. Okay, now how do we determine the predicate of nominal? In this case, and I would repeat this in Zoom and explain it in summary. So here I'm just going to explain it briefly. So whenever you have a conditional noun, okay, conditional noun, in this case not like either is as an adverb. So conditional nouns by itself, the man and gang, which is in your list of particles, you would have like conditional nouns like man, kaifa, ma, mahma, and so on. Whenever you have that, it is the subject of nominal followed by the condition and response structure. So the whole condition and response structure, the whole of it, is the predicate of nominal. Okay, so that is the equation. Okay, which I will expand more in the Zoom session after this. So this is verse number 7. Okay, now verse number 8 will be the same, except that it's short one.